What is up, Evil Dead fans? Here's another video on how to build your Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaw. And we're going to talk about muffler blocks and pieces. Now, if you're looking for Evil Dead 2, this is kind of Army of Darkness. Not really, but kind of. Before we get started, update on the issues with my nerves. Right now, I am miserable. I'm still wearing the glasses, and that's whatever. But I don't know if the nerves are starting to wake up, but it's like you'll get an itch somewhere on your face or wherever you have this, and once you scratch it, you're in agonizing pain. So it's miserable. I don't know what's going on. I'm keeping a close watch in my eye. A couple mornings I've woken up and it's been foggy, so I'm keeping a close eye on that just to make sure that I don't go blind. Okay, so let's get started. There's a little update for you guys. When it comes to muffler blocks and anything that I'm going to show you in this video, there's three things that you need to remember is that you want to accomplish. You want to accomplish the look, you want to accomplish comfort, and optimal hand room. If you can accomplish all of those, you've nailed it, because you don't have to stick your hand in and worry about it getting cut. There's problems I've had in the past that I've refined over the years to eliminate any of those problems. And with any of these parts that I show you, you're gonna see all three of them in there, even with the muffler block. So let's take a look at that. So step one, the first thing you want is you want this piece. Now, this is a resin piece right here. I have talked about it in one of the last past videos in this playlist of how to build these. If you don't want to mold or make one, you're going to have to cut it down. And I do explain how to cut it down and where to cut it down in that video, so refer back to that. When it comes to this bolt or screw, whatever you want to use, you can go with a couple looks. You can go with this look, and this is actually from the Homelite XL. There's a top handle that comes across. There's a bolt on the back of the plastic black piece. Unscrew that, boom, you have it. Now, and one thing you want to realize is sometimes, and most of the time actually, it's not long enough. You don't have to worry about screwing it down so much as long as you put this on your wood block with a really strong adhesive glue. Something like an ultra gel Loctite glue works very well, won't come off. You're really gonna have to beat the crap out of it for it to come off. Or you can go with a look like this. This is more of seen in season 2, season 3 in certain chainsaws, but they're actually the more shiny look. So if you find one of these, you can go with one of these. It's kind of up to you. Step 2, the block. Now we have a block here, and this is just a piece of 2x4, of course. And from here on the top, from here to here, that's 3 inches. Then you got 2.5, and then you got right here, right in between 2 1/4 to 2.5, and the same thing right here. The best thing you can do is to, market it right at 2.5 for, for this length and this length. Mark it down right about there. If you have too much and it doesn't want to fit into your chainsaw, just sand it down properly. But that's how you get the right look. The reason why you want this part first is you want to constantly sit it on there. Make sure you have plenty of room and it's not overhanging. You want it to have the right size. You want to just make sure it looks right on it. Next thing you want to do with your wood block piece, since this is a wood block piece, you want to sand down the edges. Don't go crazy with it. You can if you really want to. It's kind of up to you, but I don't go crazy with it. And then you simply take this piece, you attach it on there, have your bolt, put it in the right position. This is more of a season 1 look in this position. And so that's attached. Step 3, this middle piece right here. Now what you do is you got your Homelite body. This is one that I've been cutting on, as you can see, is you want to make a stencil from here to here all the way through. You can do it out of cardboard, whatever you want to do. Take that stencil, make sure it fits in there, constantly recheck it, trim as proper that you need, and transfer it to sheet metal or whatever you want to use. Aluminum's lightweight. Make sure when you use aluminum to scour the shit out of it, this side's not scoured but the other side is, just sand it rough so you can get plenty of grip when you use it. After that, you put your metal aluminum piece or whatever you're using inside of there. You put your block, slide that inside of there, and you trace out where it needs to sit, take it out, glue it, let it sit. You want to use, like I said, a Loctite Ultra Gel hold glue. That works the best. Once that's attached, we go back over here. Now this is what I use for motor pieces. This is an actual cast from a motor piece. You see the middle's gone, so I tape it down so the resin doesn't just go right through it. And once I'm done with that, once that's dry and everything, I take it out, and then I make a little stencil of this metal piece down here. And then I put it on my resin piece, underneath my resin piece, and draw my cut lines, and I cut it. And you want about 5 to 6 of these. 6 is about the right size. I've seen some where you really can't see them, but I've seen most of them have 6 of these little ribs. And then all you do is you cut it, sand it to size, and then you glue it on there. So you got it glued on there. Now let's talk about grit. You can see this side has some grit, this bottom side, but it's different from these sides in the top. These sides over here, it is wood shavings and sand, whatever you can use. Just be aware, if you're using anything that is water soluble, like little pieces of wood that you sawed off, things like that, don't use a water soluble glue like Elmer's, because it will soak up the glue and then it'll shrink when it dries and it'll crack off. Use something like a nice GO2 glue. That's what I like to use. So I usually do these 2 sides first. I'll put the glue on and put it down here and just throw that grit right on there and just let it sit until it dries. Once it's dry, I shake it off and get all the excess off. Now when it comes to the grit back here and over here and on top, what I like to do, and some people actually use, like, you can buy a certain paint that gives that grit look. And if you're on a budget, or if you're just like, I'm not ordering a bunch of stuff for it, there is another way to do it. By this time, you should already have Milliput. Now, I talked about that in this video series and about every damn video I've ever done. You can take Milliput, mix it together, add water to it, and make it into like a kind of a creamy soup, I would say, consistency. And then what you do, don't make it too thin, just grab a paintbrush and you just start dabbing that shit on everywhere. You can even put it over here if you want to, on these edges. But you want to definitely have it here, here, and on the top. Let that dry and sit. If you have to do an extra coat to make it a little more messed up and gloppy, go ahead. After that, you use a multi-surface Folk Art black acrylic paint in satin. I've talked about that in the past. When you paint it, you want to start dabbing it on. Just dab it on. You can put it on as thick as you want to. Don't put it on too thin, because then you'll lose a lot of this gritty look, and the paint will actually work good with that. Once that's done, all you do is you seal it up. I like to use a satin sealer just because this piece is shinier than a lot of other parts on the chainsaw. You can make this a little cleaner. The one that I saw in person, the motor compartment in this compartment was really gritted up, and so that's the look I go with. I've seen photos of the inside of the motor compartments where it's nice and clean. Seen parts back here where it's clean. Most of the time, this whole front is pretty gloppy and kind of messed up looking. It's never super clean, but if you want it super clean, go with that. But after that, you make sure it fits. Now, if you're using, let's say, a motor piece from Rob, you don't have to do this back motor piece. You don't have to do that. You're done with the block. You just attach it and that's it. So there's another thing that I do as well. And what it does is makes for more hand room and a nice look, and I'll show you that right now. So right here's one of the chainsaws I'm working on, and as you can see, it's sitting in here right now. Now, when you have this, you might have a couple little gaps here, and I'm going to cover that when I talk about the fit and finish of it, to cover all gaps. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that. One thing for more hand room that you can do, and I do this, is when you have your wrist clamp ready, you have to round this out, because your wrist clamp needs to be centered. If you're doing an insert, it has to be centered, and you want to round it out enough, and you have to cut away some of this metal to insert it nice and flush. Now, you won't see that it's rounded out here because the actual clamp, the barrel nuts on the clamp are going to cover that up completely, so you don't ever see that. So it gives a nice fit finish look. And like I said, these gaps here, I will show you on the fit finish how to take care of that. So I always do this later when I'm towards the end of the build, and I will show you that as well. That's more of the fit and finish kind of thing. So that's how I do that, and you get a nice look to it and everything fits right. You get optimal hand room. You can see it's not sticking out past this point right here. So the motor piece is going to be basically along here, and my motor piece will be flat against here, and all you have is this here. So instead of a big motor piece here, the motor piece I use is super thin to where it's like right against here, and it's about 1 millimeter thick at the most. So, but I'll cover that in one of the next videos. All right, so there we go. It's a very simple build. You can see all 3 aspects of it when you talk about comfort, hand room, and the look, just in a simple piece like this. I want to thank everybody for the concern that they had over me possibly going blind. I'm still not out of the weeds yet with it, but I want to thank everybody, you know, wishing me the best. I do appreciate that. If you don't want to build one of these, Christoph Engel out of Germany makes these for sale. He actually has them rounded out in the back as well. So that's a step that you can do. Instead of making one, he makes a full resin piece of it with a backing, like very similar to this. The only thing you have to do is paint it, grit it up, and make it how you want it to look. So that's another option that you have that you can do. The next video, I think I'm gonna talk about wrist clamps and really go over that. And yeah, that's all I got for this video. So until next time, you guys stay groovy.